Benn versus my man, Eubanks. This is one of the more epic matches that has actually extended upon generations of boxing. And we're going to get into this joint today. And before we get going, I want to explain what we're going to actually talk about that's going to benefit you in your boxing knowledge, first and foremost, because this is a thing that most of the athletes that we either mentor or their coaches that we mentor experience. And this is that hill that we call going up in weight. So today I'm going to really get into what it actually takes from a training perspective, the professionals that you need in order to pull this off. Because going up in weight isn't about how much McDonald's you can eat. Going up in weight is understanding how to bring up the body's mass, not muscle mass, but the body's mass and caloric intake, and how much more oxygen can you fuel through your body per cubic minute. Okay, you have to understand that oxygen has to go through the body and is measured by the 60-second brackets. How many liters of blood can you pump and how much oxygen does that blood hold? These are the behind the science lab kind of talks that I'm going to bring it to you. So today, maybe you should have your pen and pad, take some notes, or like always, save this video for later to refer back to so that you're clear. If you ever have anyone going up in weight doing anything of the sort, that they know that there's an actual progressive ladder that professionals use in order to make this happen. So, with that being said, we were actually going to lead off with the draft. And because my co host literally has an actual player going into the draft, and when they arrive, what we'll do is go over it. But we will start off going directly into what we have. Hold on one second. My co-host can't get on. Um, Let me send it real quick, and then we can get going. And you guys, like I said, be sure to take your notes because it's about to go down. And the first thing that we're going to do is get directly into why is it that most athletes think it's just easy to go up in weight and not sure about how this looks. So what we'll do is go over exactly, because what we did have planned was having the opportunity to share this with you guys. So be patient because we got to get our co-hosts in so that they can actually talk about what we planned on talking about. But I'm going to get into, after we talk about that segment, the 3 skills that you will need to move up and then what it takes to physically do it. Now, when I watched the press conference earlier today, what bothers me the most about these press conferences sometimes is that the athletes, they want to fight and they want to, their heart tells them that they can do it. Their mindset and their mentality says you can do it, you can beat them because you mad at them. I want to remind everyone out here that this is not a sport of emotion. This is exactly not the sport that you want to go into it with emotion. This is the sport that when you go into it with emotion, you get your ass whooped. Boxing is not wrestling. Boxing is not these other sports. So let's get ready to introduce the beginning of the show, which is now we're speaking directly to the NFL draft. And here's an individual. Boom. And now we can bring in my co-host, finally making it in the building. Special shouts out to my man. Oh, I've held everybody off long enough.
What up?
Yeah, brother. What's good? How you feeling today?
Oh man, I feel great, man. Tonight's gonna be a big
Same.
dream happening tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My best friend Flora Norman, who is
Yeah.
Omar Norman Lott's mother. I'm just happy for her because I mean the sacrifices behind the scenes are amazing.
Yeah.
When you have a child and you believe in them and you believe in their dreams and everything, you just pave the way for them. Is one thing, but not only do I know her and she's my best friend, but also Omar's father used to be, we call him Big Syke. I don't even know Big Syke's real name. That's how long I've been knowing him.
Well,
But
you're not supposed to. That's why they call him Big Sight.
Big
That's how
Syke
we do. Well,
was
the
my
guys I've
barber.
known, your guys. Oops. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let me pull myself back out.
Big Syke was my barber growing up, and uh, the thing that he did for me was he was a mentor in my community. Had his own business. Started from the bottom up. And started cutting hair. Was able to be such a factor in the community that when he was cutting hair, the people that had chairs in his shop, they ended up going off and being celebrity barbers, like my boy D. Martin, who went off to Atlanta and started his own deal too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, when you were growing up with the kid, did he always have the aspirations to do this, or I mean, what was his personality like?
Oh, you talking about with Omar?
Yeah.
Okay, so Omar, his uncle Paris Norman, who was a magnificent athlete, he graduated high school with me, played on my football team. Could have went to the NFL or the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of those guys.
Talent.
He was a magnificent athlete, lettered in everything.
Yeah.
He pretty much uh, was the factor that probably got Omar into football. But when Omar was coming up, because of his mom and her paving the way
Yeah.
and setting everything up from taking everything very serious from even like a youth football standpoint, making sure he had the right coaches, making sure he had the right people around him and everything.
Yeah.
He used to do sports science as a kid, like going out and training and learning how to pass rush. Going to the gym that I was at the time, which was Midtime Boxing and Fitness, and learning
Mm-hmm.
how to use his hands with boxing and everything. I think he still does use boxing as a
Training
crossover,
tool.
is learning how to work his hands as a D lineman and everything. So this kid has always been hungry and just destined for greatness. But on top of all of that, he also got very good grades.
Yeah, that's good. That's very rare that you're gonna get all of that in one package. So that's what makes an athlete. That's what makes a professional. He's not just going pro. That's a professional. He knows that there is responsibility that goes with being a professional athlete. Professional athlete rather than a pro athlete. The difference between the two is some people strive to get to the point. Some people understand that the point is just another part of the journey. So even as a professional, after you're a professional, you have another life to live. So you use that and operate that and treat it as if it's just another road to where you're going. And you don't put all your eggs in just that basket. You learn the things that'll help you get through it and operate inside of it like a professional with the responsibilities and understanding how to act like a grown up as a youth going into a profession. And so I appreciate that. And that's usually what you're going to get from guys who show complete dedication. We got guys who just are not dedicated. They just think, I'm going to get here in my life. That's it. All it is sport, and it's more to it than that. So I appreciate that. But Otis, I got a question. And this being in the NFL, getting there, getting on that field, understanding this. What I want to really get the input from someone who understands, playing football and then going into, the NFL. And I know you didn't get the draft opportunity, but I do want you to answer what is it that these guys are going through feeling wise? What are these guys feeling? Because I want to take the audience through more of a real understanding, because you watch it, you see the guys, you see the first 32 guys.
Yeah,
But
that's a
what
big
are the
thing.
other 1,000 guys going through? You know what I'm saying? So walk us through that. Uh, just because you've been in the league and from a player's perspective.
We'll start with the guys at the top, like the guys that are actually there. They're going to be, on stage and
Yeah.
Group A, the ones that you see wearing the suits across the timeless, highlights of on Sports Center and things of that nature. Those guys, they got a lot of jitters right now. They don't know where they're going. There's a lot of anticipation and stuff. There's a lot of fear that they could be let down. Like there's some guys that think that they're going in the first round and they don't get off the board until the fourth round.
Yeah.
One pick
Yeah.
by a team can slide you back tremendously.
Yeah.
And nothing is for certain. You got that. That's why it's called draftology. Because
Yeah.
people can tell you like, oh, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. This scout likes you. This team likes you. You visit with this team. And nothing is for certain until your name is called and you go across and you get that to go to that stage. So my agent at the time, Toby Wright, he got a chance to coming out of Nebraska, he got a chance to go across that stage and do things of that nature. His brothers, had a chance to go across and everything. Myself and guys that the majority of guys that I've known that have even had a
Yeah.
sniff of anything in the NFL, they not only didn't get drafted, some of them didn't get called until 2 weeks later.
Wow. So
You
another,
know, so,
so yeah, so would you say to anyone that's watching and they just, like I said, people want to feel it, what they feel like. Do you feel like maybe the beginning of the week, they're a little bit more confident? Do you think it changes as that day they wake up today and they realize what happens?
yeah,
What are they feeling then? Like the
you
beginning of
get
the
like you
week, they're
said,
like, yeah, it's draft week, but does that change on the day of where the real rubber meets the road?
yeah, it can change big time, man. You can be like 2 weeks out and thinking that like, oh man, these people love me, da da da. Then all of a sudden, you're not getting calls. Your agent is busy with other guys that may be on his on his slate because he got other clients and things of that
Yeah,
nature. It gets real quiet.
yeah,
There's been some guys that throw draft parties and they don't get drafted. There's guys that are sitting there in front of that TV and your name never gets called. I remember in 2000, my cousin Cornelius Griffin got drafted by the Giants I think he was the first pick of the second round or whatever. And
yeah.
of course, the Griffin name comes across, so everybody's calling me. Oh, was that you? Was that you?
Wow,
It wasn't me. That's my
wow.
cousin. But yeah, so things can change, man. It can be a major letdown. There's a lot of anxiety that takes place. The
Yeah,
best thing to do, I would say, is because there's no certainties, is don't throw a draft party. Have your close family unit and you just watch it on TV. If you are big enough that you get invited to
yeah.
the draft and everything, you may be like Shador Sanders and he's not certain. If you ask me, he is the best
Boom.
quarterback in the draft, outside of Cam, of course. But for some reason, his stock has been going down by the hour. Like
Well,
I don't think these guys understand what they're doing too. These talking heads, when they say certain stuff, it's like you're affecting people's lives, man. It's crazy. Yeah,
but you know what they are doing is they're securing theirs. They don't really care about somebody else's career. These guys they want to be chest took out. And so from that perspective, like I was trying to get, because I want the audience to really understand that this isn't about what you see when you turn on the TV. There are communications that happen between agents and the player. And would you say that the agent really starts to get more signs that that player might not be like a cowboy hopeful? Because I remember Jerry Jones telling Michael Strahan that that was the worst decision that he made by not drafting Michael Strahan. He said, but we wanted to get you on the cheap in the second round, but obviously the New York Giants got you. You won a Super Bowl. You're a Hall of Famer. You did all right, and we won too. But he said it was the toughest decision that he had to make. Do you think leading up to the week that the agent truly has a better insight that I don't know if we going? Do you ever think of, the guys who are going to go, the Peyton Mannings of the world, the guys who are going to go, like Deion Sanders' son is going. Like
Mm.
it's just when is he going? Because most teams don't immediately need the quarterback. A lot of guys are going defense the first 10 picks is what I took, except for the first one. So do you think that these because you know I trained in the NFL, so I know the process of the war room, and I know nothing is certain. But from your perspective, and I'll give them mine on a reel or something when I go live one day, because mine don't matter right now. We got an NFL player, so what I want is giving them who are watching the real bird's eye view. Is it a lot more going on with that player that he really has an instinct that he might not go on the draft, first round, second round?
The agent knows more than anybody, because the agent is in those rooms. The agent is getting hung up on when he's calling people. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah,
agent,
trying to
has,
get paid.
yeah, but as the client, the agent has to make sure that his client, is comfortable, that he's not tripping out, that he's not giving him backlash or anything like about
Yeah,
him not doing his job. But the
yeah,
agent knows before everybody what's going on, but he's not necessarily going to pass that information on to the family and the player, which
yeah,
is which probably should be the other way around. He should be letting them know everything, but I guess
yeah.
he doesn't want to deal with the backlash of it. But the
Hmm.
agent definitely knows before everybody, like
Yeah,
like what's going on,
yeah,
and they're gonna call the agent, of course, the moment, like probably like 2 hours before you're selected. They're like, hey, we're looking at your boy. We like what we see. Some things didn't work out in the last round or the last couple picks. We
yeah,
think we can slip him in here, blah blah blah. What's your feedback? Is he gonna be happy with coming here, or does he think he'll fit in here? All this stuff, and of course the agent gonna be like, yeah. We
yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to get off the board,
I
So
get it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think what I think is I think if I was listening, I'd probably want to know, are players okay if they were going into the draft thinking they were going in the first round, but then because the only thing the first round guarantees you is that you are going to get a contract. You're not playing for a contract. You're going to get a contract. That's what the first round does. But do you think guys are disappointed ego wise by not getting in the first round when they are expected to be in not the first round pick? You're very rarely going to see a guy who's speculated to get picked in the first couple of picks and then they don't get picked in the first round at all. I've seen it, but it's not a common thing. Do you think that they are just glad to get in there and earn a spot, or do you think it will play against them mentally or in their favor? That was a question. Would it
I think
would
it definitely plays in their favor mentally, because you're
Mhm.
gonna have an outstanding chip on your shoulder, like a Tom Brady type story. You know what I'm saying? But egos are crushed, and a lot of things can happen. Even on the financial standpoint, because
Yeah.
a lot of people they get a lot of stuff on credit because they are assumed to be a first
Yeah,
or second round draft
you're
pick.
right.
You might go to a car lot and get like the top of the line, all the bells and whistle car. The agent might loan you a huge amount of money and everything. This stuff has to be paid back. So this isn't
Yeah.
like, so yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
develop a lot of stress, what I'm saying,
For the
and
yeah, I
everything.
see it a
Yeah,
monetary standpoint.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I'll get around to talking to some things that I got to witness in the war room and stuff. And like close friends of ours, partners, one of the guys that brought me into the NFL, and a close friend of mine, Mark Trechman, who's now coaching the Chargers, as I told you guys about. He's this is what he does, and they're doing that today. And I know Terry McDonald, special shouts out to those guys, the McDonald brothers. The other one calls games. So, those guys, their family is generational NFL and big time and legacy people. So what we want to do is I want to do a trivia, and we're going to give away $50 through Venmo for anyone that knows. You got 60 seconds to hit this up. Guess what player wasn't drafted even by the 5th round and won a Super Bowl? This is for anybody out there. $50, man. All you got to do is name that, put it down in the chat, and win 50 bones. That's how you get it. And we're at the 20-second mark, so you guys get it crunk. So I'll keep that going. But while this is in the air, what we're going to do is go into the next part. And this is boxing skills. This is where we're going to explain. We're going to get to the Conor Benn versus Eubank fight. But what we want to do is explain to our boxing fans the 3 skills that you must possess when you go up in weight. That's what I was actually getting into a minute ago. And let me see. Did anybody hit the comment yet? Nope. We're counting it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boy, y'all slow on the trigger. People don't like money these days. Time. So check it out. So when we're going to go up in weight, we're going to discuss several things that people will need to know. And we will get into the skills after this segment. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is, I remember, Otis, you was talking about the muscle training that you guys were going through, which I was like, that's a good method, because if you're going to do it, the science behind it has to match up with the outcome that you're looking for. And you can't be swayed. You can't be, talking that stuff and you don't really understand the science. So I'm going to get into several forms of physical development that you will need to go through when moving up in weight. Otis, go through the exercise program that your trainer took you through with the 1,000 rep joints. I love hearing that story.
Oh yeah, John Tandy took me through a very painful experience of trying to burn off matter, which is burning off muscle mass. And in order to do that, you pretty much have to cook yourself as far as making your body eat itself. So what we would do is we would narrow down almost with no carbs. And then we would go ahead and
pause. We got a winner. The winner of on FB is Mama, MOMMA. They got it immediately. Mama said their name. Mama always said is their name. So congratulations to Mama always said. The answer was Tom Brady. He got drafted in the 6th round and has won 7 Super Bowls. So it doesn't really matter if you're going to be drafted. Patrick Mahomes, another guy. So it's all good. Hold on.
And I gave you guys the answer.
They're on IG. Mama is on IG. So Mama, make sure you message the page and we will connect with you and pass along your winnings of 50 bones. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, I was just talking about cooking the body. Like you have to burn off muscle in a certain way. Lean muscle is put on a certain way, and mass muscle is put on a certain way. Mass muscle is more about by moving big masses of weights and everything, which is going to cause the bulk and all that things of that nature. Lean muscle is formed by little muscles that work around the big muscle. So what John would have me do is do like as many as reps of a lightweight as I possibly could, like just the weight bar, and I'm doing like 600 reps of military press at a certain speed.
And good. And Otis, I love this point because this brings up several different things. See, most people aren't going to be in the situation that Otis was in. Otis was how much? How much did you weigh when you transitioned out of football to boxing?
I weigh 220 pounds with 6% body fat.
Yeah. So, like I told you guys, and I always say it, the freak of nature, one of the most defined definition bodies that have ever boxed and been successful at it. Okay, so when you're cutting your weight down, your muscle down, his muscle was big. So those high repetitions help redefine his muscle. He was shredded like nobody's business. There are video of the great champion, um,
Next great champ.
next
Yeah.
great champion,
Yeah.
and you pull it up on YouTube. I'm sure you can see it, but like when you saw him, you were like, "Is nobody in the world that saw that didn't say, look at that dude." Like that dude was like, it was definitely obvious. I said, even if he can't fight, he can fight a little bit. Just by I was like, he ain't gonna not just be able to fight, but man, if he can fight, he gonna be a problem. And that was before I ever saw you throw a punch. And I said, you know, it's certain people that just got more. I mean, you had the whole thing, the head, the face, the neck, the body, and then the mentality. And I just said, that dude, I want to see him fight. Like, I couldn't wait for the first time for you to get in the ring and fight. So, you know, lo and behold, you ended up being my road dog. And that's just a great thing. God work in mysterious ways. But having that, he was able to chisel the weight, the body mass down and get into a boxing frame and then fight at the middleweight, 168, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of weight to cut down from. And so the muscle process was serious. So anything else experience wise that you want to talk about before I go into the 6 different methods of training that you must do in order to gain weight classes? And don't you guys miss this part, because I'm telling you, this is what trainers who are working with these guys, Otis, they don't understand. They're just doing all of this stuff. And I know they're trying and it takes experiences. But if you don't want to go through experiences that you have to learn from, then you want to listen to this next segment immediately after Otis tells us, you know, what I just
I
asked.
just want to say more than the physical stuff, mentally,
Oh, yeah.
for every person that you're going to see walk across this stage tonight, they have put in, umpteen amount of hours and dedication, years and blood and sweat, and not even knowing if it was going to even pay off.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
if you have a vision and you really believe in yourself, you can't outwork yourself. What I'm saying? There is no ceiling on work. So if you go out and you work, chances are you're gonna fall into a situation that is going to help you elevate to wherever you're trying to get to.
Yeah, facts. Well, that right there, you're giving people some stuff to think about when it comes down to training and having people who are not just wearing a shirt that says personal trainer, Crunch Fitness, personal trainer, LA Fitness, personal trainer, Planet Fitness. That's not what you go and recruit. You have to recruit people who've gotten levels of education, levels of experience. When we're talking about going to the professional ranks and then in the ranking systems, you got to start acquiring top-notch individuals in your world, people who are in the world of nutrition, people who are specific dietitians who can actually coagulate this meal plan and conform it to who you are genetically. And then when you're working with physical trainers, people who understand science, sports performance, this is where you start tapping in those guys like Mackie Shieldstone, as I said to you guys over and over again, because these guys understand physiology, sports performance. They don't just go by the way your body looks. Like you could have gotten it twisted and looked at Otis and thought he was a beast, and then he could have just been this paperweight. And that's what happens when you put a bunch of stuff onto a guy and you don't understand how to navigate it or how it got there. You just put muscle on him and had him do a few cardio training regimens, and you're like, yeah. And it's more to it than that. We're talking blood drawn. We're talking swabs taken. We're talking Dynamaps. We're talking pulse oximeters. We're talking about EKGs. We're talking about stress tests. We're talking about VO2 maxes. All of these things, all are the what we call entree. These are the appetizers for muscle training systems. So I'm going to go over 6 muscle training systems that you need. Facts, and there are a multitude of them. We have 15 different ones just in one program, but I'm going to give you the top 6. So the first thing you want to know is when you're building muscle mass, you have to understand that there are layers to those muscles, right? So when you're developing the slower twitch, which composed of oxygenated muscle, when you're building up, you want to have more oxygen too. So you have to do more than just cardio. First, you have to have the kind of muscle that can retain the oxygen, all right, and not suck from it. And that's slower twitch. So you want to do control eccentric training. And that is all about slow negative workouts. And that's a count. And when you're defining and building, when you're doing this, this isn't what makes you look great when you're first doing these things. This is coming in as a role player. It's going to come into play in the 7th, 8th, 9th round, where you see most fighters, even good conditioned fighters, lose their first wind. And this is the replenisher. This is where you recover it back faster. And then you can finish off in those championship rounds. So remember, control eccentric training. Number 1, these are slow negatives. And then you have to learn dynamic warm-ups. And what this is where we are in our training series here. Last week was dynamic warm-up, understanding the movements of the pivot points. We call those your axis points. These are the movements that you're going to do to accentuate every explosive move and every long range move that you will need to accomplish. And the more dynamic that you can move, meaning the more range that you can get on your movements, the longer the muscle, the better the muscle, the better the muscle can perform, and the more oxygen it can retain, right? This is real. You can't avoid this. And if you do, I can guarantee you this, you will see the opposite end of good, and that's the bad night. You don't want to be in that position. And then this is where you go into isometric holds. When you're doing this, this is creating the retention to the point where it's almost inertia going on, isolation, and it's so painful. I'm dealing with it right now because I did it over on Delray Beach. We recorded some and I'm going to upload them. Tomorrow is Friday. I'll do it after the weigh-in. The weigh-in of Connor Benn. I'll actually be in a conference for the next 3 days, so I won't be like live like this, but I'm going to really upload kind of like what it looks like to do in a control eccentric movement. And you guys can really get a taste of what it really feels. I'm so sore right now. I can hardly talk on the microphone. Like I did that for my audience. And I have people that are in our subscription portal on Instagram and over on Facebook. And I want those guys to experience it so they have that workout inside of our subscriber portal. And I want them to do things that are all tied to this so that they can get an experience. So they have the workout, but I told them to do it like this. And so that was the instructions today. So the next thing that they'll need to know how to do is tempo training. Now that you got the oxygen in the muscle, It's there. You've gotten muscle placement, you've gotten muscle length, and you've done isometric. Now you have to get the actual boom activity. Now you got to learn how to operate at an activity level to hold that and get the muscles used to it. So you remember me saying just a minute ago that it doesn't matter what you're starting out doing, because that's only one piece of this puzzle. All of these have to come in and operate together. When I watched tank training, what I saw is the guy doing what he wanted to do. I know what that looks like. I was one of those guys. When I first started professionally, because I didn't get a long time to go before I was working with the world's greatest athletes in the world. Literally, I got right into that pool immediately. Okay, so I didn't have time to play around. I did study, and I was listening to people like the Mackey Shieldstones of the world, Galad. I was watching the people who were the biggest names in the world and studying like a crazy man, because I was responsible for great people, people who are already in the record books, already in the Hall of Fame, already have done anything that anyone could ever imagine. So I had to make sure that I didn't foul it up. It wasn't going to be on me. I'm here to do this for real. So there's that. Now, once we hit tempo training, now you take that and go pop, 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 turn it up. What's next? Plyometrics. This merges that world, because you notice we went slow twitch to the ISO training and dynamic warm up. Those play together. So you're not shocking the muscle in a way where you start to get tears. That's something like I do. I get tears because my muscle fiber is so tight. I got so much fast twitch, and people don't understand what comes with that. You tear muscle by breathing wrong. Like, so you have to understand that's why I built the system the way I did, so that wouldn't happen to Otis. If I was coaching him, I'm like, no, we're going to do a progressive training development. So if you don't have long enough to be in a real training camp, now I'm not working with you, because this takes time, right? So now, as we close it out, plyometrics, that's so explosive. And then you can do your mobility and range of motion to take it, you top it off with that. And like I said, then there are other things that you have to do, mindsets coaching and things like that, and understanding perception and reaction, and those drills that we do that are just spark training. I love that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what you'll need. So hopefully you guys got a little bit from that. Otis, the floor is yours, brother.
Well, you hit everything right on the head as far as the development. Some people they get it messed up because they skip a process, or a lot of athletes like to do what which is amazing. If a guy is fast, they want to do all fast drills, and if they're strong, they want to do all strong drills. Nobody wants to be a complete athlete, and that gets you in trouble, and that creates what we call overcompensation, which creates
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I see, man. When I watched that, I was like, and I know they don't catch everything, and they only catch what they want to, and the cameraman all they want is sexy footage, and but when I watched Devin Haney, I seen more of a variety, and I see that his trainer really does try. One thing you want is your trainer to really try, and if they're not already great, they pay attention to detail. And I noticed that with Devin Haney's trainer. He really paid attention to the detail, and he'll continue to get better and better. But when I see a guy just barking out stuff to do, he's not paying attention to detail. He just want to look like a big badass. I notice little things that people aren't paying attention to. So there's that. And so people think that I was judging him on just those little clips. That's not what I was judging him on. I see things that you don't, because I did this for real. I do it for real. I didn't write 30 books because I'm some dumbass guessing on the internet. I'm a fucking legend. So I can speak to some shit because I know it. I done been through all of those walks of lives. I done work with the greatest athletes ever in history. So there's that. And when I see things that I know I'm familiar with because there were things that I was avoiding doing, I know what it looks like. So I'll pick it out before some guy who's training at Crunch Fitness 1000% of the time, even if they're at a university. So we want to prevent that from happening because we want all the athletes to get every dollar they can. And in order to get every dollar they can, they got to be on the field because the best ability is availability. Shit, I don't care what you play. Availability is the one that puts the food on the table. Trust and believe me. So now we'll get into the 3 skills that one must acquire in order to go up in weight and be masterful. When you put on the weight with the proper nutrition plan and knowing how to build the bodies from the bone marrow out, and you standing there, let's say going up a weight class should be in a 2-year time frame. That gives you 5 matches, 4 at the least, allowing your bones to settle and allowing your muscles to create density. Yeah, it compacts and compresses, and now it's there. It's not just I can run 2 miles and I'll be down 10 pounds. Sugar Ray Leonard said it best. When he fought Marvin Hagler, he was at 160. At the end of the fight, he was 148 pounds. He lost 12 pounds in the fight because he wasn't a natural middleweight. He was a welterweight, and he lost 12 pounds in 12 rounds. You know, you don't want to be fighting a guy like that at his weight class, and all you're doing is losing ass as the fight goes on. That's not what you want. What you want is to sustain the density that's required. But guess what? There's one thing that you don't realize that you will need when you do go up in weight. There's one thing that you don't have to worry about. And I'll tell you this after I tell you the skills. The first skill that you will need to acquire, and you'll need footwork to do it, is called ring generalship, because your objective when you're fighting a larger fighter is to be where you need to be, not where he wants you to be. That's easier said than done because everybody got a plan. Otis, the floor is yours.
Until you get hit. So
you get hit.
I remember going up and fighting for the IBF title at cruiserweight, and that's exactly what happened. You need to be. I would say you need to be a combination puncher as well as use foot speed and location is in your favor.
Yes,
and you don't want to play into what the bigger opponent wants, because at the end of the day, science is science, and it doesn't matter how good you are, because a great little man gets beat by a good big man 9 out of 10 times. And that's exactly what happened with when I fought Nad Lucina for the IBF title. I was beating him for going on 4 rounds, combination punching, fast and everything, and everything just started feeling so good to me that I was like, man, you know what? I'm just gonna stand in front of this dude.
yeah. Caleb Plant, Canelo, Caleb Plant, Benavidez, same thing.
Yeah. That's when I realized that you can weigh in at a certain weight, but that doesn't mean that you are that weight. Yeah.
That shit goes away. That's why you have to take the time to build it up. It could take 2.5 and could be 3 years before it's really settled. And when you wake up, you are that weight naturally. You go work out, you steal that weight. You might go up in weight. That's when you know. Those are signs that it's really there. And then the second thing you'll need to understand how to do is always be on an angle and the head off the line. And most people do not understand that. They do not understand when you're doing that. And the reason why that is not just that, but you need to know how to throw the combinations like Otis was just saying. You need to know how to be on an angle and working from the side most of the time, because you'll get false confidence and you'll stand there and he'll put bricks in your feet when he starts banging you to the head, and you are not built that way yet. And that's why I say there's no way you go up 2 weight classes and win. That'll happen every 2 generations. Lightning hits a bottle. Now, what you have to always do is finish to the body. Always finish to the body, because round 1 to round 6, your objective is to take gas out of his tank that he doesn't know he's losing. And that is finishing to the body, because combinations are only going to be really possible without the counter is if you're on an angle. Tell me if you're hearing me. You cannot stand in front of him and throw combinations. You know what I mean? Because more than likely your head is not going to be off the line. That's a soliloquy. That's not real. No one just always has their head off the line when you're straight in front of him. That's why it's a non-negotiable that you understand how to create that angle, throw the combinations, and be out of there like Speedy. Reset. Ring generalship is everything. Distance. Know your range, know his range better than you know your range. Because when you're there, you should feel that little sensor go off. And all of these things sound good. But this is just perception. This is just theory until you're in there and it's really happening. And you allowed your ego to take over the control. And you do like Caleb Plant. And you go in and da 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 da, and next thing you know, poof, I ain't never felt a punch like that. Charlo said that's the hardest I ever been hit when Canelo hit him. Boom! In the 9th round. He's like, I ain't never been dropped. And that's what happens when you go up 2 weight classes. The density is there in that other guy. Canelo has the density. He actually measured himself by standing in front of Canelo. I said, you don't see but what's on him. But it's not what's on him. It's what's in him that you can't measure. And they did it with Pacquiao. They did it with Canelo. They looked at him and was like, he can't beat me. And they learned the hard way. They learned the hard way. And that's what's always going to happen when you look with your eyes and not with your experiences. And that's why you got to have people around you that have experience. So, Otis, you talk about the fight and you go in there and you fight a guy and he's bigger and you look good and you feel good, but that's why they have 7th round, 8th round, 9th round. See, you're playing sprint games. He's running long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And yeah, braggadocious is good. I won 3 rounds. I hear that so much. I won the first round clearly. Yeah, but it's a 12-round fight.
Yeah.
Like, so what were you in it for? To have a moral victory, or were you in it to win the strap? What is that in your estimation? So that's what you have to think about. And we don't want, when we talk about this prediction in the fight, I'm going to get to that right now. What we're going to do is just discuss, who wins this fight and why. And I have another fight that I'll just throw in an opinion, and that's Crawford versus Canelo. So I'm going to let you go. And when we talk about Conor Benn versus Eubanks, it's really a great, in concept, it's really great. The generational thing is really cool. If that could happen more often, that would be awesome. Ali's son against George Foreman's son, Rocky versus, like, it'd be crazy. But so what do you see when you see this fight? I just looked at the press conference. It's pretty real.
Yeah, I was breaking down the fights this morning and last night, and really just looking at Benn, who when you look at Benn, Conor Benn, and then you look at Nigel Benn, his father. Well, they are 2 different body types, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
His father, the Dart Destroyer, was very heavy-handed and very wiry, long, and whipping punches that were just like so hard and so fast and such a velocity and everything.
Yeah,
well,
a lot of power.
The Destroyer, who is Conor Benn, He's very explosive, but it comes from the ground. It comes from like how you said, it comes from like almost like a plyometric type ability and stuff. And he is sometimes throwing such explosive and fast shots that you don't even see it. Right? It's just like
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. So when I'm breaking it down, I was at first I'm like, oh man, there's no brainer who's gonna win this because I remember watching Chris Eubanks Jr. and seeing him get hit a lot because he's always over aggressive and trying to come forward and make it a war because he knows that he can punch with very good power. But that was the old Eubank. So now Eubank Jr. is more of a Roy Jones type of people for his time that he spent with Roy. And normally you would say that that's a bad thing because you can't do what
Yeah.
Roy Jones does. But this kid has done, besides the cat-like and explosiveness, he's more like the older Roy Jones, like right before the Glenn Johnson fight and stuff,
Yeah.
where he's more like
You can
calculated
catch him.
and he can pinpoint his power and he can split your shots and things of that nature. He can go in between stuff and he knows
Yeah.
exactly where to hide at and things of that nature. So he does a good job of posing people, making them freeze. He slides a great up jab, which has outstanding power because, like his father, he also has great density in his bone structure. And when he
Yeah.
hits you and it lands, you're going to be hurt. So
Yeah.
Eubank has. I was thinking about it too. He's had the fortunate. He's been fortunate to be around two of the
Legend.
best counter
Yeah.
punchers ever in boxing in his father and in Roy Jones. And man, if you can't pick up stuff out of
Yeah.
that, you would be a idiot
Yeah.
to tell the truth because just from osmosis, he's picked up a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. I watched the Liam Smith fight, all of them and everything, and that was a great war and a high level of war. He's going to be the naturally bigger guy. I think that he's going to be more patient. Connor Benn is going to be more trying to push the pace. He wears his feelings on his sleeve. He's an aggressive alligator, and I think he's going to end up walking into a devastating counter of Eubank, probably by uppercut, and he's going to lose by KO, probably in somewhere between the 6th and 8th round.
Okay. That's a good. You guys got it. And I'm not even charging you for Nostradamus. You got it. Like for me, I always thought I do look at proportions. So here's what my take is, and not who wins or lose, but the perspective of it, because you get Nostradamus, that's go bet. When I look at physical dynamics, like I take my hand and I can cover my whole head, right? So, and I look at Connor Benn and I look at his hands and I'm like, yeah, you got middleweight size hands. So one day maybe he will be a 54. He maybe even a 60. You're not a 60 now though. You don't have it in there. It's not settled. Eating and being at 160 and fighting at 160, because the guys that are at 160 walk around at 185, even possibly 190, like in some cases. So there's that. So you're going to be 25, 30 pounds lighter naturally than the guy. Okay. Because he probably walks around at 163, fights at 147. He's going to be what he actually walks around in. And that's not measurable. You can't make that amount of weight up when the skill level is about equal, even when you have power, because power, obviously, as you saw Terrence Crawford, Terrence Crawford is bigger now. He looks big. He was standing next to Shannon Sharp yesterday on the thing. And so I posted a couple of videos with him. So if you haven't been to our reels, you can check that out. They just went up like an hour ago. He looks bigger, like not eating bigger, like his bones look. I looked at his hands and he was with Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp's about 250, 260. So he's not standing next to some small guy or average size guy. He looked big, even next to Shannon Sharp. Like, so I'm like, how much do you really walk around at? Because I look at bones. I don't look at weight and muscles. That don't even matter. I look at bones and I'm just like, oh yeah, this kid is big. He's bigger.
What do you think about when they locked up together? Now that was they were playing around, but Shannon Sharp is an NFL tight end, huge, and Bud
Yeah.
locks up with him, and Shannon can't just throw him around.
No,
I thought
I think he's a
that's a
different
talk
animal.
tell. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a telling hand right there.
and yeah, so my point is that you can't underestimate that. But I did see what I saw at 154, and that power did not travel up to 154. Like, I feel like if Madrimov was a 147 guy and he had fought Terrence Crawford there, that he would have gotten knocked out. But he's a 154 guy, and he took a lot of good shots, being countered clean. And then we talk about going up another 6 pounds from there. And then you talk about another 8 pounds from there. That's 14 more pounds. That's 2 more 20-pound weight differences in natural weight. Because Canelo probably walking around at 196, 194, like 5 months between fights. You can put on weight. You can eat good. You can live good. So when I think about Conor Benn, you can't make up that weight. That power won't be the same. It's just not genetically possible to make up the density that comes with moving up when you go 2 weight classes, unless your boxing dynamics is just like Sugar Ray Leonard had to do against Hagler. Like, it was ring generalship. It was flurries on the side, creating angles, slick shit, in and out, all of it. It took every ounce to almost still die to come away with a split decision victory. Like, man, and we talking Sugar Ray Leonard. We ain't talking about some other guy. There are levels to this shit, and you got Sugar Ray, other than Sugar Ray Robinson's the only other welterweight, I don't know, Roberto Duran, that people would give a chance to really beat Floyd. I'm talking Floyd fans. Like, they know Sugar Ray Leonard might do it. I know Sugar Ray Robinson can do it. But that's a different animal. So now you look at Crawford versus Canelo. And now I see a different Crawford. But like I said, 2 more weight classes. When I say 2.5 to 3 years to add a real weight class to your body, unless you've been really draining yourself for a long time, like, that's one other exception to the rule. But when you drain and you come up there, and that is a weight class for a reason. It's a reason why they just don't let anybody fight at any weight class. Last person was able to do that, Henry Armstrong. Totally different guy. I'm going to tell you guys the secret. When you go up in weight class, when you fight a guy at his weight class, that does not mean you have to be at his weight when it's fight night, because you're going to need the mobility. You're going to need the advantages of not allowing him to put his weight on you. That's why you need to understand how to use the ring. Ring generalship is a real thing. So you put all of your conditioning in that area. Understand how to lean when he puts his weight on you. Allow him to, and let the ref break you. Learn tricks of the trade. Don't try to do and create resistance where it shouldn't be, because that's just gassing you out. So when you're fighting at that level, you got to understand this ain't an experience you want to learn from. You don't want to learn from that experience, because a guy like Hopkins, who know how to hit you on the hips, both of the thighs, beating you up by the time the 6th round comes. You ain't never seen Hopkins lose anything after the 6th round. Go do the research. So he broke you down. By the time you got to the 6th round, you won't win in the 7th. Like, all he had to do is steal 2 rounds. in the first half of the fight. Go look at his whole career. 6th round on Hopkins. Like you can count it. So that's what you got to be careful about. But when I see this fight, I just think I like Conor Benn. I think it's a bad choice. And you're right. I just think he's going to walk into so many different things that he just didn't understand. Now, there is that night where you got that lightning in a bottle. And I do think he's a special guy. He scares me. Like I see him, he's the only fighter in boxing that I would be scared to put a fighter in there against because I just think he has malice, just like his dad. I think it, for the first time, it might be exactly the same. And it could be worse because both of them make me think of fear for the guy that they getting in the ring with. You saw what he did to McClellan, and he just will win at all costs, and he hits like a fucking dragon. I mean, they got that, and that is the only unique thing when I see them coming in there that I see if it could happen. It could happen, but 99% of the time it won't. So your prediction for that fight is Eubanks by stoppage between the 6th and 8th round. I think
Eubanks catches him by stoppage, but like you said though, it's gonna be rough early on because Conor is gonna be coming at him in a very aggressive manner, and he's so explosive. So you gotta really cover up against a guy like that. But I did see Eubanks worked on his defense a lot. As far as being, knowing where to hide at and when to hold and all that stuff, and then also using the other person's aggression against them and countering. So, so I feel like he's gonna catch Conor at some point. Conor Benn.
Oh. Well, that's a big deal, man. I appreciate you really popping that in there. And we are going to get tuned up and watch the draft. And for those of you, we appreciate you guys tuning in with us and hanging out with us. And I'll definitely hop on post fight at the beginning of the week. And we just appreciate being able to give you guys the information that will help you further along your journey. And if you like learning these type things, you can go and join our Winner Circle broadcast over on Instagram and Facebook. Is absolutely free, nothing but free game. So take a moment, go to your phone, go up there and follow. And like I said, we just try to give you guys the kind of pearls that'll further your game along in the Winner Circle. And like I said, tonight, some young men, their lives are going to change forever. And so I'm going to sit back and enjoy it. Otis, I appreciate you coming on and doing the thing. We got some great news coming up to kind of break to you guys. So we'll keep that under wraps. But for those of you who hung out, my man Mama won them $50 tonight over on Instagram. So we'll be blessing you. Make sure you get a Venmo. If you don't have Venmo, you need Cash App. We'll make an adjustment for you. But like I said, just continue to watch. This is where you get the pearls. This is where you definitely want to learn how to holler at the girls. I'm joking. We ain't nightcap, but be blessed at Godspeed. And like I said, like this video, save it to refer back to it later. And like always, follow for more. Peace out. Otis, I'll rap with you, brother. I'm going to go enjoy this draft, man.
All right. Now.
Peace.